Call to order the Wednesday, May 20th information meeting. If we could have roll call, please.
Ron Weifenbach, Patty Martinson,
Here.
Sam Quaker, Deb Hadcock,
Here.
Bill Okrepke, Karen Gunderson Olson,
Here.
Ron Kroger, Lloyd LaCroix,
Here.
Aaron Costello,
Here.
Malcolm Chapman.
Thank you, Katie. Today, council, we are doing this will be on a presentation by Chad Tusing and Chuck Sluter on the Outdoor Campus West. And if you do have any questions, just push your light and they will answer your questions, but we'll let them take over. And I think Chuck's going first, so thank you, sir.
I just wanted to give a brief introduction on behalf of Secretary Jeff Vonk and Wildlife Division Director Tony Life. We appreciate the opportunity of being able to come and share the information that we've put together so far. Secretary Vonk and Director Life couldn't make it today, and so we're going to have Chad Tusing give the presentation. He's been meeting with several groups out here over the past few weeks. In the early 1990s, we had the opportunity to work with the city of Sioux Falls on an outdoor learning center, and that turned out to be the Outdoor Campus. It's a great outreach in the southeastern part of the state. It's been very popular. But at the same time, virtually at the same time that we're building that campus, the discussion went on, well, Sioux Falls gets one, why can't Rapid City? It's like the outdoor mecca of the Midwest. And virtually at that time is when we very first started about having an outdoor learning center in Rapid City. It's been a long time coming. We're very excited about it. Our staff is very excited about just having a different office facility. I don't imagine many of you have had a chance to see what the office setting is we have there, but we've got staff that are working in garage areas and just about every little closet space we can put them. So they're very excited about the office part of this. But I think Chad's main presentation will talk about the Outdoor Learning Center. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Chad, and he's an Education Services Coordinator for the Division of Wildlife, and he'll give you a nice presentation.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck. Thank you, council members. He pretty well summed it up. So, any questions? No. Kidding. As you mentioned, we have been in the education business for quite a while, not just with our outdoor campus facility in Sioux Falls, but with other staff around the state doing projects, including we do have a full-time naturalist here in Rapid that's been doing a lot of programs in the area. So we're looking just to expand and build upon that with our outdoor campus project. And I do have a slideshow to go through with some pictures of the site and some more information about what we're going to do there. And if there are any questions along the way, feel free to ask. I welcome those and be glad to visit with you more about those.
Chad, what do you do for South Dakota? I mean, what's your job title?
Okay, I'm the Education Services Coordinator, and that involves coordinating our various education programs throughout the state, whether it's providing curriculum materials to schools and teachers or professional development training for teachers, taking kids outdoors, whether it's fishing or hikes or just about anything that one could imagine with the outdoors and teaching about that. So a great resource for teachers and anybody wanting to teach and learn about the outdoors. So I get to do a lot of fun stuff.
Thank you, Chad.
You're welcome. So in looking at our site, if you're familiar with the location of the facility, it is along Sturgis Road, just across from the Hills Materials Quarry, about half a mile or so past West Chicago Street on the way to Blackhawk. It's a 33-acre facility adjacent to the city's Wilderness Park, and it's just a phenomenal location and facility for a lot of the classes that we want to do. The diversity of habitats there is incredible. There is a mixed grass prairie, there are hardwood trees and evergreen trees. There are two spring-fed ponds there, plus a couple of streams. Lime Creek flows through there, which originates in City Springs, and it's just a phenomenal site, and we're really excited to be able to use that site to teach about the outdoors. There's a lot of potential there, a lot going on that we're going to take advantage of with our classes. And that's one of the purposes of the facility, is to provide that gateway experience, if you will, into the outdoors. You know, there's a lot of focus on the building, which we will look at in a minute, but the purpose is beyond that. It's to get kids, get adults, basically anybody and everybody that we can outdoors, learning about the outdoors with a lot of different classes, a lot of different programs and opportunities on the site. If you look at this graphic, this picture, you'll see there are some trails we have planned there. Those trails will be open to public access for walking along those trails. We're not going to lock down the facility, the entire property once business hours are passed. So that'll be an opportunity for people to come in and walk and explore on their own, even if they're not taking part of one of our official programs. Yes, sir.
Can you go back to the previous slide? It's kind of dim for me, but is the yellow line, is that sort of the outline of your?
Correct. There's one mistake on this property. It actually includes the Hills Materials office up on the corner there. That is not part of our property, but yes, the yellow line is the property boundary.
Okay, great, thanks.
This is a photo of the view from Sturgis Road, looking into the property. And the bottom graphic is one of the initial architect's drawings of what that view would look like once the facility is built and developed. On the photo itself, that red star is the approximate location of the education wing of the office building. It will be on the other side of that pond. What we're trying to create is a true outdoors experience for people that come to the site. It will be a different atmosphere than, for example, going to Shields or Walmart. We don't want that kind of atmosphere. We want that true outdoors experience. So we'll be doing a lot of landscaping, and even visitors, when they arrive, will, after they park, get out of their cars, will be walking across the bridge to get to our main office across this pond. So again, kind of trying to hopefully change some of that mindset and that atmosphere as people arrive. As Chuck mentioned, we do have two main purposes of the facility. The first is a regional headquarters. Our office facilities on West Avenue, there off of Susan Drive, are cramped and small. Our program has grown and developed to the point that we do need new office facilities, so that will be part of this project. And another part, a large component, is the outdoor education programs. Things that will be for kids, they'll be for adults, families, basically any age. We'll have community programs and lots of opportunities. As I mentioned, the ability to come out and walk the trails and explore the site, just on your own, even outside of one of our formal programs that we're offering. Now, our programs will focus into one of 4 different areas, and this is consistent with what we're doing statewide with our programs, also what we're doing in Sioux Falls at the Outdoor Campus East, and it's worked very well for us. These messages and programs are consistent with the Wildlife Division and Game Fish and Parks missions, and also they've been very valuable to school districts because we tie our programs in with state content standards. It's something more than just a fun day in the park. And a lot of people use it for that, but it also has a lot of educational value. We get a lot of schools that are involved, and scout groups, community groups, with coming to our classes. And as I mentioned, 4 main program areas that will be a constant evolution in class topics and actual programs. Just to give you an example of some of the programs we'll be offering, one of our core areas will be outdoor education. There will be things like wildlife management or habitats, aquatic ecology, watersheds. So some fundamental knowledge and information ideas. And these are certainly not all-inclusive lists. These are just some examples of some classes that we would likely offer. We'll be offering classes throughout the year, all different ages, as I mentioned, and we're constantly changing those and evolving those based on, possibly some needs, community needs that people would like to see and like to learn about, or some things that come up internally that we would like to educate people about. Outdoor skills, one of the other quadrants. Things like canoeing, kayaking, have that great pond there that we'll be teaching those classes in. Basic GPS use, orienteering, some of those, again, basic outdoor skills. Being that this facility is being developed and operated by the Wildlife Division of Game Fish and Parks, hunting is a very important part of what we do for a lot of different reasons. And so we want to help to foster that and pass on some of those traditions and some of those experiences and skills through classes on archery, hunter safety, that sort of thing. And similarly, teaching classes about fishing, whether it be ice fishing or fish cleaning, even how to clean and cook your catch, and basic fishing for those that aren't familiar with that. And one thing I want to point out with all of our programs is that they're offered free of charge. We do not charge for our programs. The rare occasions where we would charge a fee for the program are those circumstances where there's a unusually high cost for a class. For example, rod building, which is listed up on the screen. The cost of materials for that can be fairly high when you're buying rod blanks and all those materials. When we've offered classes like that in the past, we charge a fee that truly only covers the cost of the supplies. We don't make any money off of that class. When we do things like fly fishing, fly tying, the cost of those materials are so incidental that we don't charge for those classes. So that will be a great opportunity for a lot of folks that we don't want cost to be an issue for not being able to participate in our classes. This is another look at the site, a little closer up look at the site. You can see it's a little bit faded, but you can see the parking area will be the main access point off of Sturgis Road. Most visitors will cross over the bridge to the main office, where they will either come visit with our staff if they have questions or want some more information about a program that we're doing or some sort of wildlife issue, or they want to come by and see how's the fishing in Pactola, that sort of thing. And also that will be their access point for the classrooms in the facility. And from there they can go out to the trails, or again they can go directly out on the trails without having to even go into the building and visit with us. In the lower right hand corner there you see a shop area as well. That's for our regional management tools and vehicles, storage, that sort of thing, kind of tucked off to the side there. This is a look at the footprint of the building itself. Just to give you an idea on the scale, the entire building is approximately 28,000 square feet. About 11,000 square feet is for the office portion, that yellow portion off to the right, and the rest, the other 17,000 square feet, is for the education wing, between classrooms, storage, a multi-purpose room, some exhibit areas in the central part of the building. When people first come in, they'll have some interactive exhibitry there that they can look at, learn from, try out, get their hands on before they either continue on to ask questions or go out onto the site. And just to give you another idea of scale, the classrooms and multi-purpose room there, when fully open, they can be 2 rooms, 3 rooms, or 1 large room. Will seat about 250 people, so it'll be a great location for meetings or local sportsmen's clubs that want to come out and have their regular meeting at the site, that sort of thing. A lot of opportunity there for a lot of fun things. Again, the building just being a small part of the total process, the total project and facility. Just a place to kind of get started to head out on the property and into the hills from there. Now, this timeline, as Chuck mentioned, this is something that's been discussed for many, many years. Sometimes it seems like the ball gets rolling and then it gets stuck, and the ball gets rolling again, then it gets stuck, but we're rolling pretty well right now. There's been a lot of interest in this project. Excuse me. In about the past 6 months, we've really been rolling with this project. We've been getting some great advice and input from various members of the community, whether it be Karen Olson has been very involved with an advisory group that we have, along with some of the Sportsman's Club, the school district. Mayor Hanks has been to some of our meetings as well. So we're really developing come a long ways in the past 6 months to get this project going. In the future, what we're looking at is starting construction this fall. We're on track for that. Of course, weather dependent, that's always the unknown factor. And hopefully having the facility up and running, open late 2010. Again, weather dependent. As being a major construction project, there are always those random acts that happen and weather situations that might delay the project. But that is our goal, is by late next year to have the project, the facility up and running, staff in there, programs being offered for education staff, and so forth. Now, one of the common questions we get is, how much is this going to cost? Now, we did purchase the property from Northwest Engineering, Starin Adelstein, back in December, and for a purchase price of $1.1 million. We did receive some local donations for that from the Vakirovich Foundation and the Rapid City Isaac Walton League chapter towards that. Our final costs have not been determined yet. We just received an initial estimate of the construction project, the entire development of the facility, of approximately $10 million. Again, that's the initial estimate. Nothing has been finalized yet. The building design itself hasn't even been finalized yet. So that is probably in the ballpark that we're looking at in the long term. Annual operating budget, again, same sort of thing, hasn't been determined yet, but in the likelihood of, a couple to $300,000 a year for staff costs and equipment, that sort of thing, supplies. And it's really important to note that this project is funded through the Game Fish and Parks Commission by hunting and fishing license dollars. The commission has been very supportive and been a very strong driving factor for this project, and have felt so strongly about it that the past few years they have set aside several $1 million towards this project from those license sales. So no tax dollars being used for the facility. It will be, again, funded by hunting and fishing license sales. So, and any future donations that might come in for the project. So it's kind of a nice feeling, nice place to be in for this. So we have been involved with designing a facility, working a lot with community groups, getting input for the design, the programs, that sort of thing. So where do we go from here? One of the big things we're looking to do is build and maintain some partnerships in the area. We already have some great partners that we've been working with for the past several months and even several years, and we want to continue those. We also want to look at some partners and agencies, organizations in the area, for example, Norbeck Kids and Forest Service, to see what they're doing with regards to these programs and make sure that we're not duplicating efforts, we're not competing with others, and that we can work together on some of these projects. Some partnerships may be financial. Right now, we are not to the point where we're doing any serious fundraising. We are relying on the Game Fish and Parks Commission to give us some direction on how aggressive they want us to be with that. There may be some options for fundraising and for donations. One thing we're looking very closely into is creating some sort of either endowment or grant fund for the school district. We realize that transportation costs can be a major barrier for school districts to leave and classes to leave the school campus and classrooms and school buildings. So we're looking at trying to find some ways to help the schools with that so they are able to come out to the site for classes. And always looking for suggestions and ideas for program topics, groups that we should visit with, and groups that may be interested in using the facility, that sort of thing. And of course, volunteers. Our Sioux Falls facility relies very heavily on volunteers, with 150 to 200 volunteers providing a lot of programs and that sort of thing. So there are community folks that want to come out and help teach classes or work at the front desk and visit with folks that come in. That's something we'll definitely be open to working with those people on. So again, a very important part of what we have planned for our project. And lastly, just providing some more locations for more information about the project. At this point in time, I'm one of the prime contacts for the project. We are hoping to have a full-time education director on board here in Rapid City within the next 6 weeks to 2 months. In the meantime, a lot of questions are coming to me, and I'm working with a lot of folks on the project. We do have a website. This website will link you to both of our outdoor campuses, and you can explore what we've got going on at those sites and see photos of the site, including probably next week we'll have photos of a kids fishing event we had this past Saturday out at the site. Had a lot of kids out there that had a lot of fun and caught a lot of fish even. So we had a great time with that, so we'll be seeing more of that there and be updating that as we go. So that's kind of a quick rundown on what we've got planned for our property on Sturgis Road, and I'll be glad to entertain any questions or thoughts you might have.
Chad, do you by chance have any papers from your PowerPoint that we can give to the council members, like little packets or something on your information that you gave today?
I don't have anything with me, but if you'd like, I can print off copies of the PowerPoint itself and get them to you to give to everybody if that would work.
I
for you.
appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the mayor would probably want one too. So
Okay.
I appreciate that, Chad.
Absolutely, we'll do.
How many copies?
It'd be a total of,
Dozen?
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
Thank
absolutely.
you. We have a few questions from council members. Malcolm Chapman, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chad, thank you for the presentation. Just suggestions on, you were saying volunteer or partners. Just seems to me a natural partner would be Extension
Yes.
and maybe the Boys Club, Girls Club, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts as well. When you talk about an education staff, are these new hires, or will these be people who work for game fishing parks that'll be transferred out here, or are you looking at hiring people?
Okay, yes.
And
we
how
are-
many?
Yeah, pardon me. We do have one full-time naturalist in Rapid currently who'll be involved with this. Her name is Lori Root. And we are hiring, as I mentioned, a full-time education director for the education portion. And by the time we open the doors, we hope to have a second naturalist on staff. That is our plan for starting. That is, a fairly small staff, but once the program gets rolling and gets building and developed, we hope to add to that, possibly with a volunteer coordinator along the way to even expand our program more. So we'd have one current staff and looking at least 2 new hires as well.
Okay, thank you.
You have a follow-up, Malcolm? Okay. Patty Martinson, please.
Yes, thank you. Can you tell me a little bit more about the research lab? Will that be accredited, or does that apply at all?
Okay, no, it is not an accredited facility. That is, for example, our lab, some of our staff do research on chronic wasting disease. We do sampling during the hunting seasons, or we have the mountain lion research and that sort of thing going on. So that's a lab facility that we currently have in our office. It's a bit undersized that we've got to expand to the new site for a lot of our internal research and data collection. But yeah, it's not going to be accredited or associated with the university. You're welcome.
Do you have classes on duck harvesting? I'm kidding. I'm
Absolutely.
kidding.
We've done things like that before. We do, game calling, duck calling, waterfowl hunting, the works.
On
So.
the cleanup after ducks. Karen Olson, please.
Thanks, Chad. This has been an interesting process that I've sat in on for the last couple of months, and I will say that every indication, there's a clear interest with Game Fish and Parks in partnering with Rapid City, as this property is immediately adjacent to Wilderness Park, which is below our reservoir up above, and they're currently making some changes to that park, and there's been conversations about the importance of the interconnectedness, and ultimately, in fact, just the other day we had some conversations about the city's efforts to make this site bicycle accessible by some new trails that would enable someone to go from Canyon Lake Park to this site, as well as other sites that. So I think it's the idea of the partnership between the City of Rapid City and Game Fish and Parks is well along, and I certainly will urge my colleagues and the city in general to take advantage of every possible partnership opportunity that exists to make sure that the site is well used by the local residents and the city as a whole by these resolving some of the transportation issues. So it's been a really positive conversation, and we'll certainly continue to be of great interest, because it definitely fits in with the city's long-term objective of providing a healthy environment and a better education facility.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Lloyd LaCroix?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chad, for the great presentation, and I think you got some good ideas from Malcolm and some other ones. But out of your presentation, I think the thing that hit me the most is when you were talking about it, when you said you're putting that bridge over the pond to get people in the mindset when they come over to the complex to get them into it. I think that's great insight. I mean, that really is. I think this is a natural fit for the West River area, and I wish you guys all the luck in the world, and happy trails.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lloyd. Any other questions, council members? Chuck?
I just wanted to throw one thing in too. It's, you know, as you look at that, it kind of represents the vision that we have, entering the parking lot off-world and crossing the bridge into the outdoor campus world and the outdoor experience that you meet there. You know, one of the interesting parts of this process has been the building. You know, we've kind of run both sides of the gamut on how to handle this building, because we're looking to do truly an outdoor experience. And so the building is kind of secondary to what we're doing. We call it the portal to the outdoor campus, because the outdoor campus is actually the whole property area. And we'll stage in the building, and almost all of our classes will take place outside in outside settings. We've had a little concern that we're building a building to do classes for outdoor experience, and why would we bring kids inside to do outdoor experience? Well, we don't. We're really gonna try just to move them outside. The building is a great part of that piece, though. It's a great portal. It's very inviting. I think it's going to be a very, very attractive part of the landscape. It's going to have a very natural look to it. I can assure you that the process we've gone through has been very, I can use the word fiscally conservative. We've been very conservative with how we do this. We're not trying to build a monument or a huge, oversized complex that might sit empty half the time. We put a lot of thought into space management, how we're going to use what we have. We don't have a lot of extra space, but we have all the space that we need right now. There are some plans that we could add on in the future if that need arose. But really, the building is secondary to the outdoor experience, and I would add to the staff that we have on that will facilitate that outdoor experience. That's the success that we have in Sioux Falls. It's the people that we have on staff mixing with the kids in the outdoor setting there, and that's what we're looking forward to here too.
Thank you, Chuck. Just another question. By chance, did you guys contact the CVB, Convention Visitors Bureau? Because this to me is pretty exciting for the tourists as well as the citizens in the surrounding South Dakota, Black Hills, Wyoming. It's pretty exciting what you're doing. There's a lot of people move here because of these reasons that you guys are having the classes. So I see it to be a pretty exciting adventure for most people that would come even to the Black Hills. So by chance, have you contacted the CVB on some of your program information that you've told us today?
Yes, and we've had a representative from them involved with a lot of our advisory development meetings as well.
Awesome.
So they've been involved from the get-go.
Awesome. My family are major fishing people, so they'll be pretty excited. Council, we do have a few more questions. Karen Olson, please.
One of the key things is the personnel that's involved in your education process. And through the course of this conversation, planning for this facility, I've gotten acquainted with Lori Root, who is a wildlife biologist and one of your key players currently in providing education. And just yesterday I sat with her. She was selected a few years ago by the Girl Scouts as a woman of distinction. So she was at the breakfast yesterday morning recognizing the new women of distinction, and she's a very enthusiastic person. I was grateful to say that when we went to the Green Cities Conference, she had been fairly recently in the Portland area attending a conference in which they were familiarizing themselves with a number of outdoor issues. And she was very on the ball when I sent her an email and asked could she share with me some of those sites that might be interesting to us that were attending the Green Cities Conference. She was very forthcoming. And if all of your staff is as enthusiastic as Lori is, I can see that children everywhere are really going to be excited about the educational things that they're going to learn through this facility.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Any other questions, council members? If not, again, thank you, Chuck and Chad, for coming today. We really appreciate it. Exciting program, and look forward to seeing your little presentation so we can talk to it with our constituents.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And to adjourn, council? Been moved and seconded.